Hi everybody, welcome back. So in this video, this lady was sharing her horrible dating experience. Take a look.
You think you've had a hard time dating? I once went on a date with a guy, ABC Cosina, and he showed up with an overnight bag. And I just knew it was an overnight bag. I knew it wasn't a gym bag. At the end of the date, he's like, oh, I'll call us a car. I said, okay, cool. He hands me his phone. He said, put in your address. I said, well, why don't you put in your address and then I'll put in mine? And he was like, no, we're going back to yours. And I said, no, we're not. It's not a homeless shelter. I'm not taking in strays. We're not doing that. It's not happening. You're going home and I'm going home. So if you want to call me a car home, that's great. And once I told him that, he said he wasn't going to call me a car. And I said, that's fine. I'll call my own car. Peace out, Girl Scout. To the man that brought his overnight bag to my date. Are you dumb or stupid?
Now, I don't know what was in the bag, but it was giving Jeffrey Dahmer, okay? It was given, I need a place to stay, and I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. But I'm so glad that she stood on business and she said no, because some of these guys can push you to your limit, okay? They test the boundaries, they test the good girl in you, they test everything, the pick me in you, everything. I'm so happy that she said no and she didn't allow him to stay. And but anyway, this brought me to a different section of TikTok where women were sharing some of the most insane dating story. So I don't want to waste your time. I did compile a few, so let's get into the video and I'll be back to share my thought. Let's get in.
Every woman who dates men needs to hear the story, okay? So a friend of a friend was going on Hinge dates, meets this guy, great rapport, great back and forth, great first date. He knocks it out of the park. He's like, second date, I'm gonna cook dinner for you. She's like, don't gotta ask me twice. She goes over there, he cooks her dinner. He's like, I'm vegan also, so it might taste a little different than what you're used to, but I hope you like it. And she does, she likes it, it's good. He doesn't try to hook up with her, all green flags. The next day, she wakes up violently ill, projectile vomiting all day. Goes to the ER, they run a bunch of tests, and the doctor comes in the room and he looks at her really weird and he's like, ma'am, have you consumed human meat in the last 24 hours? She realizes what has happened, calls the cops. The cops show up to his apartment. Turns out it's an Airbnb that he rented out under a fake name. It's cleared out. All of his social media profiles are cleaned. Ladies, don't let him cook for you.
Hinge. In case you need more encouragement to delete that app, let me tell you about a guy that I met on Hinge that unalived his living wife. But of course, we connected on Hinge and we started communicating in the app. Back in my dating days, the first thing I would always ask a man is, are you really single? Do you have children? Are you married? Have you ever been married? Get straight to the point. He responded to me, I have 2 children and I shared them with my wife, but she died. She passed away. And I was like, oh my God, that's so sad. It was so early in us getting to know each other. I did not move any further in asking like, how long has it been and what happened? I left things exactly where they were and we moved on to more pleasant conversation. And then we started hanging out and that was going well. And then he just randomly mentions that he has a brother and that his brother is like a hood version of him. Now, to give you background on this guy, black man, but there's no black, he's a black man. He was very intelligent and spoke really well, and we both shared a love for sciences and math and things like that. But he felt like his brother didn't go the academic route with life and had been in and out of jail, and so he referred to him as the hood version of him. However, when he said this, I was thinking, I would like to see it. I would like to see that. You know, if you look just like you with a hood version, what does that look like? And so I joked about this with my friends, and I decided I'm gonna go and see if I can find this hood version of his brother. So I know his first and last name. I go on Facebook. It's not hard to find him. I find him on Facebook and I'm going through his friends list for anyone that has the same last name as him, to which I come up on a male name. I click said male's name and their page is like semi-private, but I can see photos. I can see a few things. So when I go on the profile photos, the first one, it really didn't mean anything to me because it was his 2 kids, but they were next to 2 more kids that look similar to his 2 kids. But he said that his brother looks just like him. So automatically I assume that his brother has kids and that they're close, which would make sense. Once I go to the next few pictures on said page, I notice that it's a woman. And I realize that this male name is actually a unisex name. And then I realized that this woman just posted maybe a week prior, a few days prior, and this woman is happily married to him with their 4 children. So now I'm like, okay, it's one thing that you said that your wife was no longer here and she here. Baby, she alive. but why you tell me about only 2 of the kids? Why you had to unalive the other 2 too? It was just too much. So I'm like, how do I tell him without letting him know that I've been snooping on his Facebook? And then I realized, honestly, none of that matters because he's a married man and I'm not moving forward or progressing in this, whatever we were trying to figure out and whatever we were trying to do. So I'm like, hey, went on your Facebook, saw this name, clicked on said name. Your wife is still alive. To which he responded, well, she's dead to me. Delete that app. Get off of this video, press it down, and delete that app. Delete it.
New fear unlocked for anyone dating. I was told the most insane story over the weekend. Of course, I have to share it with you. This story is about a friend of a friend of a friend. So I don't know who this is. Sorry if this is you. So this girl goes on a Tinder date and they vibe, get on really well, have a really good date. So she goes home with him and she spends the night. She obviously liked him and they had a bit of a connection and he seemed normal. Then a couple of days after the date, she starts to feel a little bit not right down there. So she goes to the doctor, obviously thinking, this guy's giving me something. So the doctor does some tests and gives her some antibiotics. A few days later, she gets a phone call from the doctor and he says, you need to come in ASAP. Obviously, she freaks out. Like, I would freak out. Like, what is this? So she goes back to the doctor. He sits her down and says, we need the details, the name, the number, the address, everything of the person that you slept with. You would literally be thinking, that's my dog. You would literally be thinking, what the hell is going on, right? So the doctor explains, we have found out what's going on down there. And it's not your standard STD. And he proceeds to explain to her that she has bacteria down there. And that bacteria can only be found one place. This is where my jaw dropped. That bacteria is only found inside dead bodies. I'll let you process that for just a second. So yeah, the guy had obviously with a dead body and then with her. I literally don't think I would get over this. So obviously the police got involved. He was investigated. Turns out that he did work somewhere that had access to dead bodies. I'm guessing a morgue. And he was arrested. And I think he's in prison. There are so many fears about dating, and this has just added to the list quite high up.
So there's this girlie, she's out in NYC, living her best life. She's on Tinder, swiping. She matches with this guy, but no one messages each other. They don't, nothing happens. Then she's out in Soho or somewhere in Central, in New York. And she locks eyes with this guy. She thinks he's kind of cute and he looks familiar, but no one makes a move. She doesn't think much of it. She gets home, checks her phone, and sees that there's a message on Tinder and from the dude. And he's like, oh, like, it was nice to run into you today. They get to chatting. They go on a date, a couple drinks. A couple days later, goes well. They follow up again. Then they have a second date. That goes even better. So she's decided to bring him back to her place. They get to chatting. He sees that she has a nice collection of shoes, one of them being Tabby's. He's also into fashion. They can talk, and they have a great time together. Next morning, she goes to the shower. He asked to use her phone because he wanted to show her Spotify playlist or something that he didn't have Spotify on his phone. First red flag. She goes, yeah, no problem, dude. Gives her the phone. He goes through. She comes home and he leaves after that. She's going about her day. A couple hours later, she looks over to her shoe rack and she realizes that her Tabbies are gone. And she goes, oh man, I must have just misplaced them. She scours her entire apartment, looks, cannot find the shoes. Then she's like, that's kind of strange. They had just been talking about this with this dude that morning. She goes to text him, be like, just to make sure that something isn't awry. Homeboy deleted his phone number from her phone. He deleted their call log history. He deleted all the text messages, and he unmatched with her on Tinder. So then she's like, oh, this man stole my shoes. So then she goes to TikTok, thank you TikTok, and makes a TikTok about the story. And the girlies do what we do. We track this man down, only to find out that he not only had a girlfriend the entire time, but he gave the shoes to his girlfriend because I guess her and the girlfriend were the exact same size shoe. And because TikTok has blessed us with the engagement for this video. The poor girlfriend, imagine being this girlfriend. She posted it on her Instagram story. Oh, my boyfriend, he bought me these new tabbies, just for one of her girlfriends or one of her friends to DM her in response to that Instagram story, the video of a woman talking about how the fact that her shoes were stolen. So then she has to give the shoes back to the boyfriend, the cheating boy. I mean, I assume it's cheating ex-boyfriend at this point. So then he can go and return the shoes back to the woman that he stole them from. And all of this, we have to thank TikTok and the girlies for boosting the engagement. But this is probably one of the craziest stories I've ever heard of, ever. And if you're interested in following it as it develops, just type in the Tappy Swiper in TikTok, because I'm sure there's loads of info.
So I meet this guy on Hinge at the time, I believe it was, and he's biracial, and then on the first date he ends up telling me that he's bisexual, so I'm like, yes! And like the first date was so cute also, like we went to a sushi place, and then we went back to his place, and like went in his pool. This man was also very rich, like he lived in a 4-story freaking like condo, I didn't even know what, like I was just like, whoa, you really have a lot going on. He had like a Tesla and everything. I was like, damn, okay, like I am in it, like I'm ready to be your wife. So then the second date rolls around, and I go back to his place, and we're hanging out, have a good time. We, you know, do the deed. And it was great. It was fantastic. However, immediately after the fact, we're laying in the bed, and I'm just making casual conversation with him because what else am I gonna do? I like to ask people like, oh, what are your flaws? Because I just think it's interesting to hear people's responses and like how they kind of perceive themselves. And he is completely deadpan, no like emotional whatever. He goes, oh, I kill people. And my first thought is, kill who? I'm in your rich ass house, and if something goes down, like I feel like this man has enough money to like make me go away. Do you know what I mean? So I was like scared. So out of my natural instinct, I was like, oh, like who do you kill? And again, he's serious, and like I'm kind of serious because I just like said it more casually because he was being casual. And so I go, oh, who do you kill? And because I'm hoping to God he's not gonna say he's about to kill me. And he goes, oh, children. Completely serious. Oh my God, I look so crazy. Hold on. So he says it completely serious. And so at this point, I have more questions. So I go, where do you get them? Where do you get these kids? I don't know. I was nervous and I wanted to know because I literally was like, well, if you're killing them, like, where do you get them? And he goes, oh, from anywhere. Anywhere? Whatever. So then I was out of questions. I just like to know what to say. And at that point, because he didn't like break character, he didn't say like, oh, I'm joking. He didn't smile. He did nothing. I was the one that was like, oh, hi. So like, anyway, like, what are you up to later? Completely change the subject because I was like, I'm so uncomfortable. Like, to be completely honest, I must have been stigmatized because we ended up going to the dog park with his dog, and then I was gonna go to a movie with him after this. I was still ready to hang out with him after this. It like didn't click until after the fact. I was telling my brother, I was like, wait a minute, this guy like said this, like, isn't that weird? And he's like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? And I was like, holy shit, you're right. That's messed up. So I actually forgot we went on 3 dates. And on the second date, we went somewhere that was by my apartment. So I think he parked at my apartment and I drove us over there. So he knew where I live. I was like, I should call the police, but I also don't have any proof. Like, he didn't show me anything. Like, word of mouth, I don't think is like enough. And if I go to the police, they're gonna call him, and then he's gonna know immediately where it came from. Like, unless he goes around telling everyone that he kills kids, which I highly doubt. Now I moved, so I could report it, but I don't know if it's grounds. Anyway, so after that, he ended up going on like a work trip to Australia for like 3 weeks or something like that. And we just did not talk until a couple months later. I post on my story because my friend is performing and I show up there and he's there. And I was like, oh, fuck. And at this point I had told all my friends like, oh my God, like the killer, that's so crazy. So when I show up there with my friends, I'm like, that's literally the killer. I'm hoping that he doesn't see me, but I'm tall, I'm 5'9", and I always wear like fucking stompers, okay? So obviously he's gonna see me. And he did. And he ended up coming over to me. And I'm like, hey, how's it going there, buddy? He's like, oh my gosh, hi. Like, that's so great. And I was like, God, that's so crazy. Like, what are you doing here? He was like, oh, I came to see you. Because he saw that I posted on my story. But I did remember after the fact that we were talking about like our hobbies. And he's like, yeah, I love like this one company that like puts on shows and stuff. And I was like, oh, I like didn't think anything of it. And then that was the same company. So he probably was going to go anyway. And then might have seen my story. After that, I blocked him. So that's pretty much the story. I'm going to finish my makeup off camera. And this is the final look. I feel like it's giving share. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions and I will answer them gladly.
I figured I would tell this dating story while my makeup is still on, but y'all, this is the best one. Well, it's time. If you're an OG follower from my first original page, then you guys will remember this story because I got on live leaving his house. So this is the guy that took me to California Pizza Kitchen and didn't order anything on the first date, right? I wasn't upset because he knows I love butter cakes, so whatever. Also, he was a little musty because he had just come from the gym. I don't understand why he didn't take a shower or change the clothes. Anyway, he had come to my house before and this was like our second date, so I was like, like, all right, whatever, it's time to go to his house. So he invited me over to his house one night, and I was doing my blowout, my silk press, and he was rushing me through the silk press. So I was considering not even doing my baby hair. I get there, he don't like the way I parked. I got to repark 3 times, and then finally he goes, let me do it for you. So then we go inside, he's cooking sweet potatoes, by the way. He's like, these are my favorite thing to cook is roasted sweet potatoes. I look at them sweet potatoes, half of them burnt because he didn't chop them up in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. So he didn't learn to cut symmetrically from Gordon Ramsay or his mother, but that's neither here nor there. Also, he had 2 roommates, 2, so that means 3 people in a 2-bedroom house. You 34 years old and you're a structural engineer. Why you got 2 roommates? They had a sheet separating the bedroom. So he have his mattress on the floor with an airplane blanket on a mattress. And then on the other side is his friend's room. Let's go back to the food for a second, because he was eating this really large bowl of salad and he had it underneath his arm like a football and was eating it like this. And it was really strong smell of vinaigrette, and he kept asking me to kiss him. And I was like, nah, man, I'm not about to kiss you while you're eating the salad. And he was like really forceful about it. And I was like, no, fam. He goes, I want to watch a movie with you. I'm like, okay, but I'm looking around, ain't no TV. How y'all is 3 people and nobody got a TV? Okay. So he goes, let me go and get my Dell computer. He opened up the Dell computer. This is the part that everybody remembers. He has like a million icons all over his home screen, and I'm immediately stressed out. I'm like, bro, just close the Dell. He's opening the internet browser and he's like, I think it's a little too late to ask my brother for his Netflix password. So he looks at me like, bitch, you gonna give me your Netflix password? I'm looking at him like, oh no, you got me fucked up. So he turns on a free Amazon movie, y'all. It was like a Roman movie and I wasn't feeling it. I'm like, can we at least pay for a movie? He paid $3 for the Taraji P. Henson movie where she can hear men's thoughts. So I'm on the mattress with the airplane blanket on the floor on his side of the room watching this Taraji P. Henson movie with the Dell computer, and his phone goes off because it's his bedtime, so he kicks me out.
Now, I don't even know where to start. The first story, he gave her human meat. Ladies, be careful of where you eat. I don't eat in people's houses. I'm always afraid to eat in other people's houses. I've always been like that, okay? Now, this is like a different level. And the guy who told the second girl that his wife was dead when he was lying, he even lied about his children. He had 4 kids and he said he had 2. Really? And the girl who got the bacteria because the guy was sleeping with dead people. Oh my god. Ladies, use protection. Do you have any shocking dating stories? Please let me know in the comment section, because some of these stories is like, is it for real? Is it true? Did I make it up? Because this is scary. Okay, this is so scary. But let me know about what you think of all of this in the comment section, your experiences and all that. Let's have a discussion. I'll see you again tomorrow with another video. Take care of yourselves. Bye.